This stitch is a variation of the basic single crochet using the US crochet term. In British crochet terms it's double crochet. I love it because the crochet isn't as stiff as ordinary single crochet. This stitch is a bit softer and thicker. Because it's thicker, it also works up a bit slower though. The stitch has several names. It can be a knit look crochet stitch, waistcoat stitch, or split stitch. In soft, chunky wool, it makes a lovely baby blanket because it's a soft and sort of spongy stitch. So let's look at how it goes. By the way, links to different kind of crochet hooks are in the video descriptions, so if you need new hooks, check it out. This waistcoat stitch that we are going to start works best if you have a larger hook than what you would normally use for a certain yarn. So I have yarn that I normally use a hook size 4 millimeters for, and now I have a 5 millimeter. It can even be bigger so it doesn't get too tight. Here I have a piece with ordinary single crochets back and forth, and I'm making the first sample now going back and forth with this waistcoat stitch. I chain 1 to turn. The only difference to the usual single crochet where you would put your hook into here and then here, that instead of that you split the previous stitch. And now that we are going back and forth, we have this here bar looking thing from the last row. So I'm inserting the hook into this here V shape that goes upwards. Here, right through there, take the yarn and bring it through, and make sure you don't pull it too tight, and then just make a stitch. So that's it. So again, here's the upward V, and I insert the hook there, take the yarn and yarn over again and finish the stitch. So that's all there is to it. It's a very easy difference, but it makes a big difference when you do more of it. One more time, the upward V, and I stress that this is when you are going back and forth. Soon we'll go on the round, and then the stitch that you go into is different looking. So in here, and a single crochet. I'll finish the row now here. Almost at the end of the row, and there's one more stitch like that there, and when we do it this way, the end of the row is not exactly the same, so you need to find 2 loops of yarn there, insert the hook there and make the last stitch, then chain 1 for turning. And in starting a new row, you also go into the first upward V shape, not in here, otherwise it starts to grow. So in here. Again the next upward V, and so on. We see now that this does grow slower because we're taking the stitch from further down, but that's also what makes the texture. I'll crochet a few rows now back and forth, and then we see better the difference between this stitch and the ordinary single crochet. Here we are. So this here is the normal single crochet when you go back and forth, and this here bit is the waistcoat stitch. So it looks different. It has these loops, just like in knitting. And when you go back and forth, they are not in a direct line upwards, but they sort of change a bit here and there. This one is being done in the round, and there you can see the straight lines of stitches going upwards. And next we'll look about how to do that. So here I'm starting a new thing. I made a chain, and now I'm just making ordinary single crochets around it. So a single crochet into every stitch. and then I finish it off with a slip stitch. And now comes the part where the knit look waistcoat stitch is done a bit differently when it's in the round. And the reason for this is that when you go back and forth, you always make that stitch into the back side of the previous row, while here you are always on the right side. Chain 1, and now there's the V from each stitch, and now it's not upwards, it's V like that. So that's where you insert your hook and make a stitch. So there's that the V hook there, and so on. I'll switch over to the other one. When you have already been working for a few rounds, it's easier to see the stitch. So there's always the upward row of stitches, and that's where you put the hook. So here, and again there. And that's it. So hope you can find good uses for this here stitch.